Section 8. Basic File Organization. Introduction. In the previous section, we looked at the criteria used in the selection of a type of file organization. There are certain basic types of computer files which can include files stored as blocks of data and streams of data where the information streams out of the file while it is being read until the end of the file is encountered. In this study session, we will look at the way the internal file structure is arranged. We will examine various ways that files can be stored and organized. Since files are presented to the application as a stream of bytes until an EOF end of file condition is met, then a program that uses a file needs to know the structure of the file and needs to interpret its contents. The various types are discussed below. Learning outcomes. At the end of this study session, you should be able to explain the various types of file organization, discuss features of the various file organization. Types of file organization. In this study session, we will look at the way the internal file structure is arranged. It will examine various ways that files can be stored and organized. Since files are presented to the application as a stream of bytes until an EOF end of file condition is met, then a program that uses a file needs to know the structure of the file and needs to interpret its contents. The various types are discussed below. Line sequential organization, sequential file organization, random file organization, indexed sequential file organization. Figure 8.1 Types of file organization. Line sequential organization. Line sequential files contain records that have only characters as data. Line sequential files are maintained by the native byte stream files of the operating system. Examples are files created with Notepad. In some programming environments, line sequential files are created with write statements. Sequential file organization. In a sequential file, every record except the first record falls immediately after the preceding record. There are no gaps. A sequential file contains records organized in the order they were entered. The order of the records is fixed. The records are stored and sorted in physical contiguous blocks. Within each block, the records are in sequence. Records in these files can only be read or written sequentially. That is, files organized in sequential fashion can support only sequential access to its records. New records will always appear at the end of the file. The records can be of variable length or fixed length. However, once stored in the file, the records cannot be made shorter or longer or deleted. The record can be updated if the length does not change. Advantages of sequential file organization. The vast majority are updated via batch processing, which is the most efficient method to use with a sequential file. Sequential files can also be constructed on magnetic disk. However, the advantages of sequential file organization should be considered as follows. It is the easiest to implement because records are stored and retrieved serially one after other. It is easy to organize and maintain. Loading a record requires only the record key. It is efficient and economical if the activity rate, that is, the proportion of file records to be processed, is high. Relatively inexpensive L/O media and devices may be used to store the files. Disadvantages of sequential file organization. The following are the drawbacks of sequential file organization. The entire file must be processed even when the activity rate is very low. Data redundancy is typically high since the same data may be stored in several files sequenced in different keys. It becomes complicated to maintain because the original order must be preserved every time records are added or deleted. Random file organization. This is also referred to as direct or relative organization. Files in this type of organization are usually stored in a direct access storage media like magnetic disk using the identifying key. This identifying key relates a record to its actual position in the file. In a random access or direct access file, every record is the same size. Because of this, records can be deleted and replaced with new ones easily. A new record is guaranteed to fit precisely within any free space in the file since all the records are the same size. Records are placed randomly throughout the file. Advantages of random file organization. The following are the advantages of random file organization. Fast access and immediate access to records for updating purposes is possible. They can be implemented on direct access storage media, which are very common. It gives users flexibility of accessing any record in any order without having to begin search from beginning of file. Records are identified by their relative addresses, the addresses relative to beginning of file. Transactions need not be sorted. Different disks or disk units are not required for updating records, as existing records may be amended by overwriting. Disadvantages of random file organization. Data may be accidentally erased or overwritten unless special precautions are taken. Records in the online file may be exposed to the risk of loss of accuracy and a breach of security. Therefore, special backup and reconstruction procedures must be established. Indexed sequential file organization. Indexed sequential files have an index that contains pointers to organized data records elsewhere in the file. The sequential and the direct access files are considered as opposites of each other, yet the indexed sequential file is a synthesis of these two. The organization of an indexed sequential file combines the positive aspects of both the sequential and the direct access files. In an indexed sequential file, records are stored sequentially on the direct access media, that is, magnetic disk, and data is accessible either randomly or sequentially. The sequential access of data occurs as one record at a time until the desired item of data is found. This type of file organization is best suited for situations where both batch and online processing are to be supported. The records in these files are organized in sequence for the efficient processing of large batch jobs, but an index is also used to speed up access to the records. However, indexes permit access to selected records without searching the entire file. This technique is known as Indexed Sequential Access Method (ISAM). Indexed sequential file organization is best suited for situations where it is not known in advance whether a particular record exists. Figure 8.2 Area Indexed Storage. Prime area, overflow area, index area. Prime area. The prime area is the portion of the disk on which the actual records are written. Overflow area. The overflow area is a separate section of the disk that is allocated to the file to allow conditions to be made without extensive processing. Index area. The index is a map that relates the key fields of records to their corresponding addresses in the prime area. The index area contains keys of records and their locations on the disk. An illustration of an indexed file is a floor of offices in a building. The directory in the lobby tells you what floor the office is on, but you still have to search the floor to find the right office. Such files have an index that contains pointers to organized data records elsewhere in the file. Indexed sequential files are accessed either sequentially or directly. The index file must be searched for the pointer to locate where the desired data is stored if direct access is needed. Indexed sequential record organization characteristics. The following are the characteristics of indexed sequential record organization. Combines best of sequential and direct access. Uses information to generate an index file through which records are retrieved. Divides ordered sequential file into blocks of equal size. To access any record in file, system begins by searching index file and then goes to physical location indicated at that entry. Existing records can expand and new records are in close physical and logical sequence. When retrieval time becomes too slow, file has to be reorganized. Access methods for files. The access methods of files are dictated by files organization. There are only two access methods to files: direct access, sequential access. The most flexibility is allowed with indexed sequential files and list with sequential files. File organized in sequential fashion can support only sequential access to its records, and these records can be of fixed or variable length as earlier noted. To access a record, the file manager makes use of the current byte address CBA. Sequential access. In this method, retrieval is achieved by scanning the entries in the same order as they are in the file, e.g. 001, 002, 003, 004, 005, etc. So if you want record number 200, then records 001 to 199 have to be scanned first to get to 200. The principal advantage is rapid access to sets of records, e.g. if then nth record has just been accessed, the n+1 record can be accessed very quickly. The file manager uses the address of last byte read to access the next sequential record. This means that the current byte address CBA must be updated every time a record is accessed. For sequential access of fixed length records, the CBA updated by incrementing it by record length RL, which is constant. CBA is equal to CBA plus RL. For sequential access of variable length records, the file manager adds the length of record RLK plus number of bytes used to hold record length N to CBA. CBA is equal to CBA plus N plus RLK. Direct access. In this method, records are accessed directly or randomly, allowing records to be read and processed in any order. For example, to read record 005, you just jump directly to it. No need to scan from 001. Hence, in random access data file, you can read or write information anywhere in the file. This implies that the medium being used allows a jump to any point in the file. In practice, this requires some form of disk storage. Direct addressing is not favored if the demand is primarily for sequential processing. To perform direct access with fixed length records, the CBA is computed directly from record length and the desired record number RN. This information is provided through the read command -1. CBA is equal to RN-1 in bracket asterisk RL. Summary. In this study session, you have learned the following. The types of file organization are discussed, which are line sequential file organization. The line sequential files contain records that have only characters as data. Line sequential files are maintained by the native byte stream files of the operating system. Sequential file organization. In a sequential file, every record except the first record falls immediately after the preceding record. There are no gaps. A sequential file contains records organized in the order they were entered. Random file organization. This is also referred to as direct or relative organization. Files in this type of organization are usually stored in a direct access storage media like magnetic disk using the identifying key. This identifying key relates a record to its actual position in the file. Indexed sequential file organization. Indexed sequential files have an index that contains pointers to organize data records elsewhere in the file. The access methods of files are dictated by files organization. There are only two access methods to file, which are also discussed in this session. Sequential access. In this method, retrieval is achieved by scanning the entries in the same order as they are in the file, e.g. 001, 002, 003, 004, 005, etc. So, if you want record number 200, then records 001 to 199 have to be scanned first to get to 200. Direct access. In this method, records are accessed directly or randomly, allowing records to be read and processed in any order. For example, to read record 005, you just jump directly to it. No need to scan from 001. This is the end of study section 8. Thanks for listening.